Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of Help for the Guiltless. My name, of course, is Antwon, and today I'm doing something I haven't done in a while, which is responding to a video. I haven't done a response video in a while, so I thought I'd throw my hat back in the ring with the stupidity of Riley J. Dennis, which everyone has been responding to because Riley decided he wanted to try his hand at comedy and failed miserably. And I do have my own opinions about things, so I may have a different take than most people. But I guess we'll find out, won't we? So, without further ado, take it away, Riley.
Hi there! Are you tired of being called a racist, a misogynist, a white supremacist, a Nazi, a homophobe, and a transphobe?
I can't say that it bothers me anymore since you all use the words so much. They have lost about 98% of their actual meaning. But, go on.
You need to learn how to be a politically correct bigot. You see, the days of being able to shout racist and sexist slurs from the rooftops are over. People are too politically correct now. It's like for some reason people don't like blatant hatred being spewed everywhere.
Now I remember why I hate responding to Riley. Aside from the fact that I lose brain cells, it's his jump cuts. You spread hate by doing jump cuts.
Don't get it. But anyway, because of this new climate of tolerance and acceptance, you have to be more careful with your words if you happen to be a skeptical, rational, free-thinking, patriotic American like me.
Now, before we get too far into this, yes, I understand this is satire. I understand Riley is trying to be funny. The problem is, Riley is being more telling about his own biases than anything. This whole video can be summed up and responded to very simply by pointing out the obvious. Riley, with this video, has created an entire Wicker Man. Not just Strawman, but Wicker Man with the bees and all.
Not the bees! Not the bees!
That's all it is. He has an image in his head about who he's arguing with, and he is talking to them. This person does not exist. It's only in his head and in his echo chamber. Now, with that said, let's let Riley attempt humor.
Though, I've got your back. Here's how you can learn to be a politically correct bigot. Number 1, don't call black people the N-word, just call them thugs. We all know that white people should be allowed to say the N-word, but in today's political climate, you just can't. Too many triggered snowflakes out there. So instead, just call them thugs. It's just as racist on the inside, but sounds less racist on the outside.
You know, this honestly says more about you, Riley. You think all black people are thugs. I happen to know quite a few that are the nicest human beings on the planet. Now, that's just anecdotal evidence on my part, but I have a friend who happens to be of the black persuasion in my role-playing group, and believe it or not, he laughs and jokes with us about things like this. Now, we don't want to say the N-word, we don't care, we just want to know why it's okay for one group of people to say it, but not the other. It's called double standard. We don't like double standards. Most people don't like double standards, and that's exactly what it is. But you wanting us to call them all thugs? Well, not all black people are thugs, Riley. Only thugs are thugs, and criminals are criminals. And there's a huge difference between a black person and a thug. I would consider that part of Mexican cartel are thugs, and they're not black. There's part of the Russian mafia that are thugs, and they're not black. You're a racist prick, believe it or not.
Instead of saying that you hate people of color, just say that you support national security. The trick here is that nobody can disagree with wanting national security, so anyone who criticizes you will look like an asshole. Then you can build a huge wall on the southern border and ban people from the Middle East and say it's for national security, even though those things won't actually make us any safer. The important part is they look like they'll make us safer, and they'll keep people of color out. It's a win-win.
National security is a real thing. You understand that, right? The NSA is a real thing. National Security Agency. They protect us from foreign problems. You know, problems like Sweden is having in London. It's funny that you have a problem with it because you're still butthurt over who got elected president. You're lucky to be in a country that does have national security because you're allowed to mock it without fear. It means it's doing its job. You're an idiot.
If you want to lead a harassment campaign against someone, make sure that you display a disclaimer saying that you don't condone harassment. You see, an old-fashioned harassment campaign is seen as offensive nowadays. Something about bullying marginalized people or some shit like that. So instead of telling people what you're doing, just do all of the same things, but don't say that you're doing it. Essentially, you want to make it easy for your hundreds of thousands of followers to go harass someone by giving them all the information they need, but not actually directly telling them to do it. If you make it easy enough for them, they'll do it whether you tell them to or not. And this way, you can avoid any responsibility. It's like putting a really tasty treat in front of a hungry dog and then telling the dog that it shouldn't eat the treat. It's still gonna do it, but then it's not your fault because you told it not to.
Riley, do you understand free will? I mean, I understand in the cult that you're a part of, free will is not really something that you guys exemplify. But for someone who has hundreds of thousands of followers to openly put a disclaimer saying that do not go harass whoever I'm talking about, and then openly says to his viewers or her viewers not to go harass that person, that is all they can do. The audience itself has free will. Thus, they're able to go make their own decisions, and they are responsible for their own decisions. I know a couple of the people you're talking about. I don't know them personally, but I know who you're talking about. And they have openly said multiple times, do not go and harass these people on their channel. That's all they can do. If you want them held accountable for their viewers, woe be as you when you have to then be held accountable for your viewers. You can't have one without the other. So, while you're advocating that these people need to control their viewers, you have to understand you need to control your own. If they're held responsible, so are you. Twit!
Don't call people feminazis, just call them feminist extremists. Back in the day, feminazi was a perfectly good insult. You could dismiss the arguments of any annoying feminist with just one word. But now, thanks to PC culture, we have to use 2 words. Feminist extremists. Still, it's a good way to ignore the concerns of anyone who criticizes you, so I highly recommend using it.
Feminazis are feminist extremists. It's why the term Nazi is added on to it. And using that term to quote-unquote ignore any criticism from feminists is just as similar as you calling every single person who has anything bad to say about your opinion a troll, a Nazi, a white supremacist, all of those wonderful words that you gave at the beginning of this video. You use more terms to dissuade and ignore criticism than any other person on the planet, Riley. If they don't like what you have to say, they're a homophobe. If you don't like what they've had to say about your videos, they're transphobes. If they don't like your opinions on Trump, they're racist. You honestly need to take a good, long, fucking look in a mirror.
Instead of saying that you hate trans people, just say that you wouldn't date them. Thanks to all the liberal, leftist, communist transgenders out there, it's now not okay to hate someone just because they're trans. That's ridiculous. You know it, I know it, we both know it. So to get around this, just say you would never date a trans person. It's a good way of getting your message across without explicitly saying it. Plus, if anyone criticizes you, you can just call them a rapist and claim that they're trying to force you to have sex with a transgender person. Because remember, implicit bias is fake news.
Just because I wouldn't date you, Sergeant Adam's apple, doesn't mean I wouldn't date a trans person. And me not wanting to date you in particular does not make me transphobic. You are not my type. I have nothing against trans people. I haven't met one that I've wanted to date. And that's only because I haven't met Blair White. So that's my caveat. Not wanting to date a trans person has nothing to do with transphobia. You're not afraid of them. You keep using these words that you don't understand the meaning to. And if you do understand the meaning of them, you're using them enough to where they're going to lose that meaning. Implicit bias has nothing to do with transphobia.
6. Don't call yourself a white supremacist. Just say that racism doesn't exist and that people of color are ruining our country. White supremacist has all sorts of negative connotations now. White nationalist is sometimes okay, but not always. The easiest way around this is just to say that you have white pride and to complain about reverse racism and white genocide. Talk about the evils of multiculturalism, laugh about the people of color who will die because of environmental racism, and yell at people when they don't speak English. But if anyone calls you a white supremacist, you deny it. The label might fit, but it's not politically correct.
Let me work through that word salad real quick. First of all, no one is saying racism doesn't exist. Yes, there are parts of this amazing country that do still have racist connotation. No one is saying it doesn't exist. Reverse racism doesn't exist. It's still just racism. And the term white supremacist, Nazi, white nationalist, all of that can be lumped into the same thing. Those are your opinions on people who disagree with what you have to say. I have no problem with multiculturalism. You people do. Cultural appropriation is your big new buzzword, so much so that your queen of women versus everything, Anita Sarkeesian, is praising the fact that there are countries going to the UN that want to make cultural appropriation illegal. I want multiculturalism. I want integration. I want all of that. You people seem to want segregation again. It's retarded. We want to accept people. You want to push people out. I don't want white versus black, or black versus brown, or brown versus red, or white versus yellow. I want that mixing pot that the American country is supposed to be. Stop pushing division and start accepting the fact that just because I enjoy a certain culture doesn't mean I'm appropriating it. To understand it, you have to appreciate it. You fucking moron.
7. Instead of saying you support the alt-right, say that you're a centrist who just wants to hear both sides. This one's easy. People love centrists, even though it's a logical fallacy to claim that the two extremes are bad and the center is good. It's called an argument to moderation, look it up. But if you say you're a centrist, nobody can say that you're actually alt-right. And then all you have to do is ignore the left and constantly give a platform to the right. Make sure you challenge the left on all their ideas, but allow the alt-right to speak freely. It's genius, really. Say that you support free speech and hearing out both sides. People love that shit, and they won't even see how it works to empower the alt-right.
This point is ridiculous, because everyone to the right of Marx is alt-right to you people. To say that there is no quote-unquote centrists is ridiculous. There are people who are right-leaning liberals, and left-leaning conservatives. Yes, there is the far right, the right-wing extremists, just like there is the far left, the left-wing extremists. But to say that you should become a faux centrist is ridiculous. Being in the center doesn't automatically mean that you're better than anybody. It doesn't mean that you implicitly agree with the alt-right. Because that's what you're saying. You're saying that if I don't take your side, I agree with the extreme. That in itself is extreme. You speak words and phrases that you honestly don't understand. You want us to look up the fallacy? You need to look up the phrases and the terms that you're using and understand the concepts of them, because you really don't.
My friends, is how you can be a politically correct bigot. I hope this advice was helpful for you, and if you appreciate it, then please press that thumbs down button. I know it seems counterintuitive, but a thumbs down is the politically correct thumbs up. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.
Oh, I am going to be pressing the thumbs down button. But you see, you don't pay attention to that, because you get paid to be this thing. I did this without any inebriation whatsoever, and I feel my head swimming with loss of IQ points and brain cells. Riley, the people are hitting the thumbs down button because they don't agree with you. People are telling you in the comments that they don't agree with what you have to say. But the only ones that you pay attention to are the ones that are simply, kill yourself, you're an idiot, things of that nature. You won't respond to anything because you're one of those SJW bullshit artists that think they are higher and mightier than the rest. You don't believe you owe us anything, even though we have arguments against it. You don't want the conversation. If you want proof, just look at how you treated Lacey Green. I'm glad this video is over, because it's going to take me a while to refresh from having to deal with your stupidity. And for the fact that I really, really, really want to crop your head to just your face because the thing sticking out of your neck started talking to me halfway through this video. But that's all I have to say to Riley, and that's all I have to say about this. This was nothing but a Strawman video. And this satire, and I put that in quotes, shows exactly what Riley and his echo chamber believes they're up against. This is how they view anyone who disagrees with them. But I'd like to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, hit like, share this, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook. You can reach me on Twitter. All of the relevant links and the link to this video is down below. If you want to go hit the dislike button like he asked, by all means. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Help for the Guildless. My name, once again, is Antwon. And have a wonderful evening.